Hey guys, this is going to be a follow-up to the review that I just posted a few days ago on the newer Ozark Trail Soft Cooler. This is going to be a comparison to the older one, and I guess the more budget-friendly version of it, not that the other one's expensive by any means. So I'm going to point out a couple of the main differences, and first, obviously looking at them side by side, they're pretty much similar in size. Their shapes and dimensions are slightly different. The one on the left here is a little bit more oval or oblong in shape. It's rated to hold 24 cans. And the one on the right is more rectangular or boxy, and it's rated for 20 cans. And I'm just going by the Ozark Trail tags that came on these for the specifications. The 24 can cooler with the darker gray, that's rated for 3 days of ice retention, and it says it can hold up to 15 pounds of ice. The one on the right, the 20 can leak tight cooler, is rated for 2 days of ice retention, and it says it can hold up to 15.2 pounds of ice. Dimension-wise, the one on the right is 14.8 inches wide, 10.5 inches deep, and 12.2 inches in height. The one on the left, the 24 can, is 15 inches wide, 10 inches deep, and 12 inches in height. So they're essentially identical in specification. Again, it really comes down to the shape. If you look here, this one is definitely more oblong than this more boxy version. Just by the feel, this one is a little bit tougher and more rigid. The material also feels a little bit different. Feels more high quality, I guess. It's a little bit stickier. This is kind of just like a rubbery nylon exterior. Another big difference between the two of these is that this one actually has a little hole on the top here that you can easily access some of the items inside, which also can obviously be a drawback for sealing it up tightly and keeping the temperature cool inside, although it does do a pretty decent job by having this little square piece that fits into the hole here, sealing it up pretty well. The other main difference between this cooler and the newer version is that if you look inside here, there's actually a seam here and here on the other side that's actually sewed. So the material kind of gets tucked into itself and then sewed on the inside of this liner. The problem with that is that the water from ice melting in here seeps through the sewn stitch and ends up getting caught behind the liner and between the liner and the outside of the actual cooler. Which is why on this cooler, though I've used it a few times and it works great, I do not put ice in there. I use ice packs. Let's take a look at this one. As I said in the review for this, the main difference between this cooler and this cooler is, one, the zipper has a much more robust weather seal around it that seals extremely tight and is supposed to be watertight, which we will test. Secondly, and most importantly, on the inside of the cooler there is no stitching. The only seam exists around the bottom here, and it's actually heat bonded or welded to the other piece of the liner. And a visual inspection of it appears to show that it's intact, which obviously we'll test when I put some ice in here. So the main benefit of this cooler over this cooler is going to be, if you're going to use ice to keep your drinks or food cold, this is the one you want to use if you're not going to use a traditional hard cooler. The reason being, the water, if it's sealed properly, will not get between the lining and the outside of the cooler, and it essentially gets stuck there for forever, like it will in this one. Visually, I think this cooler looks better. I like the colors a little bit more. I like the darker, the lighter gray with the red accents. You also have the shock cord on the top. Functionally, this one's probably a little bit better, just because it's a softer, less rigid body. It's gonna form more easily in the back of the car. It's not going to be as rigid like a hard cooler, and it's got that little top hatch that's really useful for accessing drinks very quickly, especially when you're going to have a zipper that's incredibly difficult to zip and unzip. They both come with straps that are attached by these little D-rings to make them obviously a little bit easier to carry around, especially if you have 20-25 pounds of ice or drinks in there. Alright, well, next video is going to be me testing this out with some ice and seeing what the retention looks like, as well as how well it weather seals and makes itself, as it claims, leak proof. If you guys have any questions, please leave a comment below, and I'll get back to you. Thanks for watching.